దూర విద్యా విధానంలో డాక్టర్ బిఆర్ అంబేద్కర్ ఓపెన్ యూనివర్సిటీ దేశంలోనే మొట్టమొదటి సార్వత్రిక విశ్వవిద్యాలయం. దాదాపు 2.5 దశాబ్దాలుగా దూర విద్యా విధానం ద్వారా కంప్యూటర్ కోర్సును అనుసంధానం చేస్తూ BA, BCom, BSc డిగ్రీ కోర్సులను అందిస్తోంది. పోస్ట్ గ్రాడ్యుయేషన్ స్థాయి, డిగ్రీ, డిప్లొమా స్థాయి కోర్సులను ఔత్సాహికులైన విద్యార్థులకు అందిస్తోంది. డెవలప్మెంట్ స్టడీస్లో సెంటర్ ఫర్ ఎకనామిక్స్ అండ్ సోషల్ స్టడీస్ ద్వారా ఎంఫిల్, PhDతో పాటు విశ్వవిద్యాలయమే స్వయంగా దూర విద్యా విధాన అంశంపైన PhD వంటి పరిశోధన కోర్సులు ప్రవేశపెట్టింది. రాష్ట్ర వ్యాప్తంగా సుమారు 4.5 లక్షల మంది విద్యార్థులు ఈ విశ్వవిద్యాలయం నుంచి ఉన్నత విద్యావకాశాలు పొందుతున్నారు. డాక్టర్ బిఆర్ అంబేద్కర్ సార్వత్రిక విశ్వవిద్యాలయం స్థానికంగా స్వయం బోధనా పద్ధతిలో ముద్రణ రూపంలో రూపొందించిన కోర్స్ మెటీరియల్ అందిస్తోంది. కోర్స్ మెటీరియల్ అధ్యయనానికి సహకరించే విధంగా రేడియో, టెలివిజన్ పాఠ్యాంశాల ఆధారంగా కార్యక్రమాలు ప్రసారం చేస్తోంది. అధ్యయన కేంద్రాల ద్వారా ఏర్పాటు చేసే సలహా సంసర్గ తరగతులు, సైన్స్ ప్రాక్టికల్ సౌకర్యాలు విద్యార్థులకు స్వయం అధ్యయనానికి ఒక చక్కటి అవకాశం. ఇవి విద్యార్థి సమీపంలో ఉండే అధ్యయన కేంద్రం నుంచే పొందొచ్చు.
Dear students, I welcome you all for today's teleconference in the subject Botany. I am Padma, working as academic consultant in the Department of Botany, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University. Today we assemble here to discuss on the topic biodiversity, significance, threats and conservation methods. This topic has been tailored to the needs of MSc second year students of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University. Two eminent personalities in this field are invited for today's program to discuss, interact and share the ideas with you all on the topic. First, let me introduce Dr. T. Annie Shiron, working as academic officer in the Commissionerate of Collegiate Education, Nampally. She was Lake Biodiversity Consultant and she worked with Netherlands Embassy and Huda Joint Venture Project, that is Green Hyderabad Environment Program. Mr. J. Swami, Senior Research Fellow of Osmania University. He is also associated with Botanical Survey of India and also AP Forest Department. At present, he is assisting AP Forest Department in identifying, preserving, documenting the flora of Pocharam Wildlife Sanctuary. Now, let us start our discussion. The time allotted for today's program is 1 hour. The first 40 minutes are allotted for discussion and the last 20 minutes allotted for interaction with you all. If you have any doubts, you can contact us on these numbers 04027031431, 27031432, 27031433. So, if you have any doubts, questions or clarifications, don't hesitate to call us. As you all know that a lot of debate and discussion is going on at international and national arena on the topic biodiversity. Biodiversity, it is confined not only to the scientific community, but it is a topic of interest for everyone like general public, environmental groups, educationists, economists, industrialists, etc. Biodiversity and the conservation are the two vital environmental issues of global concern as more and more people around the world begin to realize the critical importance of biodiversity for our survival and the existence on our planet. So, by keeping all this in view, today we are going to discuss what biodiversity is, the levels of biodiversity, significance, threats and conservation methods, and also the various programs initiated by different organizations for the sustainable development. And the decade 2011 to 2020 has been declared as Decade on Biodiversity. And biodiversity, the term has become a buzzword ever since the Earth Summit in 1992 at Rio de Janeiro. So, first we should know what biodiversity is. So, what exactly biodiversity is, Mr. Swami?
The simple definition of biodiversity is bio means life, diversity means variation. Biodiversity is the sum of total of all life forms on earth. The variety and variability among living organisms, the total of genes, species and ecosystem. According to conventional biological diversity, biodiversity is the variety and variability among living organisms from all sources including terrestrial, marine and aquatic ecosystems and the ecological complexes of which they are part. This includes diversity within species, between species of ecosystems.
Could you explain the concept of biodiversity? Can we consider it as a resource, Dr. Rani?
Yes, it is. It's a very vast natural resource. It is not merely a resource, but it is an embodiment of cultural diversity and the diverse knowledge traditions of different communities across the world. And coming to the concept, it is a scientific concept and it is a measurable entity and it is also a social political construct. And the concept of biodiversity is, the concepts are, biodiversity is the variety of life on earth as Mr. Swami has earlier said, and it is generally described at 3 levels. All life forms that make up biodiversity connected to each other and to their environment. No living element of any ecosystem can survive independent of the others. Human impact directly or indirectly affect the environment.
So, how biodiversity can be studied? It's a very vast subject. How can it be studied?
Yes, ma'am. Biodiversity is a vast subject, but biodiversity can be studied at 3 levels. That is, one is genetic diversity, another is species diversity and ecosystem diversity.
Could you explain, Dr. Rani?
Yeah, genetic diversity, the first level of diversity is genetic diversity. This is nothing but diversity within the species. For example, if you look at this picture, genetic diversity, it is a measure of the variety of different regions of the same genes within an individual species. If you look at, there are 3 varieties of dogs here, Pomeranian and Beagle, Rottweilers. And if you look at this plant species, the first one is Clitoria ternacea, it is commonly called as Shankupushpi. The plant is same, but the flowers are different. I will give you a very good example for this genetic diversity. We are 3 people sitting among here. Okay, he looks different and you look different and I look entirely different. This is the best example I can give for genetic diversity, because of genes we are looking different.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also the adaptability of living organisms to different climates is due to genetic diversity.
Exactly. The adaptability of the different organisms to different climatic conditions, or because of the different kinds of genes present in this species.
We can take the wool of sheep. In cold regions, they have a lot of wool when compared to the temperate regions.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah. Is this vast diversity has any significance or value for this planet?
Yeah, before going to that, I just wanted to speak to you about the second level of diversity,
okay.
that is species diversity. This species diversity, it is described
the number of different kinds of organisms within individual communities or ecosystems. For example, if you take a grassland, you see number of different kinds of species, that is animals and birds or animals, plants, etc. If you see this picture, you will find different types of animals in a grassland, like eagles and vultures and different kinds of plants and even insects, microorganisms. So there is so much of diversity, it's present in an ecosystem. So that is called as species diversity. When coming to the next level of diversity, that is the ecosystem diversity, and it is the highest level of diversity I can say, that is the variation of different ecosystems. It includes the diversity of habitats and ecological processes occurring within each system, each ecosystem. For example, on the earth there are different types of ecosystems like grassland ecosystem, forest ecosystem, pond ecosystem, marine ecosystem, etc. So it is highest level of diversity, biodiversity I can say.
No single organism in this universe can exist alone in isolation. The millions of organisms on earth, they interact with each other in many different ways, thereby contributing to the balance of global ecosystem or the survival of this planet. So, there is a very vast and rich heritage of biodiversity. Is there any significance or value of this biodiversity for this planet or the humankind in particular?
Yes, it has, the biodiversity has a lot of significance to the human beings in particular and at large the global level. Because when you look at this point, the values of biodiversity are cultural, social and ethical values, and aesthetic value, food security, drugs and medicines. It acts as source of genes and it provides ecosystem services. And if you take cultural and social ethical values, human cultures all over the world co-evolved with their environment. In India or else at the global level also, the plants and animals, they are considered to be the symbols of national pride and the symbols of cultural heritage. And in India, we worship, many people worship, they worship Osimum, and they consider pipal tree, that is ficus, as sacred ones, and they worship snakes and animals like cows and monkeys and all. They worship all these animals and plants, they worship the biodiversity or nature, they consider it as sacred. We should not forget the efforts of our ancestors, that they have valued this ecosystem a lot and they valued this nature a lot, and they considered this biodiversity valuable, and they considered each species have its own place in this nature, and they have worshipped them and they have transferred this valued tradition to their next generations.
What are the other sources?
In addition to these biodiversity values, it also food and drugs and medicines also important. Biodiversity is an essential requirement for all the maintenance of global food supply. The main sources of human food include plants, animals and fishes. A high proportion of world livestock depend on nature vegetation for feed. Almost all 30,000 species are edible. Out of these, 7,000 species have been cultivated by human beings. Totally, today only 20 plant species are more economic important. Out of 90% of the world food coming from only 3 crops are cereals, that are Oryza sativa, rice, and maize, Gia maize, and wheat Triticum vulgare. Only 1 dozen of animal species, that are goat, sheep, and duck, and chickens, have been domesticated for food production. Fish is the new kind of domesticated animal through the development of aquatic technique. Only conservation of biodiversity can ensure global food security, the rapidly increasing of population as well as for animal population. So another values is also there, drugs and medicines. So today, according to World Health Organization, the World Health Organization estimated that 80% of the population of developing countries rely on traditional medicines, most of the plant drugs for their primary healthcare needs. About 7,000 are used in folk medicine, 15,000 plant-based drugs are used in India and Nepal. 57 of 150 most prescribed drugs have their own their origin from biodiversity. Some of the examples of biodiversity, Cassia angustifolia is a gives senocide which is used for purgative purpose. Catharanthus roseus, it is a main source of two alkaloids, vincristine and vinboston alkaloids. These are used for anti-cancer. And Rauwolfia serpentina. Rauwolfia serpentina also yields main source is serpentine, which is used for hypertension. Withania somnifera also used in some of the alkaloids, withanine and somniferin, which are used for sedative purpose. And Asparagus racemosus, this is a common name, is a lady with 100 husbands. So a lady with 100 husbands is the common name. It is used for generally aphrodisiac purposes, and galactogig and aphrodisiac. And some of the another examples also is there. Curcuma longa is curcumin. It is used for anti-swelling properties. And Cinchona officinalis is a quinine, yields quinine, which is used for malaria. Atropa belladonna yields is a iocyanine, which is also used for nervous disorders. So penicillium is a yields Penicillium notatum.
Yes.
Penicillium notatum, penicillin. It is used for antibiotic purposes. Biodiversity is a major natural resources of high value of industrial raw material for pharmaceutical, agrochemicals, food and cosmetic industries, and also in addition with the significant of scope for progress in rural economy.
Now everyone is turning towards nature, because the allopathic medicines, they are side effects, but the herbal drugs, they don't have side effects and they are cost effective. So everyone is turning towards herbal way of life.
Yes.
Even we should not forget the ecosystem services of biodiversity.
Yes, the ecosystem services of the biodiversity is very valuable, I should say, because the ecosystem services are nutrient cycling, even watershed services, food web, and the soil formation and protection, air purification, pest and disease control and pollution control. All these services are provided by the biodiversity.
Soil management.
Yes,
also.
soil management, all these things. For example, air purification. If you take one plant, okay, it gives a large amount of oxygen in its lifetime. If the same amount of oxygen we want to produce synthetically, it costs a lot for us. Okay, and we should not forget the ecosystem services provided by the biodiversity are very valuable, and they cannot be replaced by the synthetic ones.
Yes.
And it is estimated that around 16 to 64 trillion US dollars of ecosystem services are provided to the mankind free of cost.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a boon from the nature to us.
Yeah. Actually, many fruits and vegetable crops, they depend on pollinators.
Yes.
Like honeybees.
Yes.
Nearly 130,000 plant species, they depend on honeybees for pollination. Actually, honeybees, they considered more important than poultry in terms of human nutrition.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the honeybees, they are facing extinction in the US.
Yeah, because of all the so many threats for this biodiversity, the biodiversity is at loss. Okay,
Yeah.
we will lose all these valuable services from the ecosystem. Not only they will provide all these services, they are very good source of genes.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Swami will explain about it. about source of genes?
Biodiversity is a protects of gene pool of species as acts as a storehouse of many useful genes. Gene pool is a total number of genes present in a species. Rice grown in Asia protected from the 4 main rice diseases by genes brought from the wild species in India. The Cairns grass, that is Saccharum spontaneum, Indonesia has provided genes for resistance of red rot disease in sugarcane. Thus, the genetic variation in wild population is potential useful for improvement of domestic animals and plants, therefore should be preserved.
Yeah, even the biodiversity has aesthetic value. We should not forget about it, because the human being, the human kind, they learn a lot from the nature. So it serves the inspirational and educational needs of the human being. The nature, it serves the inspirational and educational needs of the humankind, and also in being in nature, it gives a feeling of well-being. Okay.
Spiritually.
Spiritual and well-being of humankind depends on the nature and the environment he is placed.
Yeah. So far only 1.5 million species have been described worldwide.
Yes,
a lot to be explored. It is expected that 5 to 100 million species are there which are to be explored.
Yes,
so a lot to be explored in the nature. We are using very less extent of the biodiversity which
not
we
even
have.
0.5%, not even 0.5%.
In the global level of biodiversity estimated global level is 1.25 crores, out of which 17.5 lakhs have been described and identified. There are 9.5 lakhs insects, 70,000 fungi, 75,000 arachnids, 15,000 of nematodes, especially plants, 2,66,000 of plants are described, and vertebrates, 45,000 of vertebrates described till now. And these are total including only 13.6% only, remaining 86.4% yet to be discovered. So India is one of the 12 mega biodiversity centers. Biodiversity distributed not equally distributed in all countries, especially in tropical countries. 12 countries having rich in diversity. These countries having 7% land area compared to world geographical area, but these countries having 60 to 70% of biodiversity. So these biodiversity nations called as mega biodiversity nations. These are Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, Indonesia, Peru, Malaysia, Ecuador, India and China. In that, India having 2.2% of geographical area, but it contains 15,000 of angiospermic flowering plants. So comparison to Indian biodiversity, India has in the world 2,66,000 of flowering plants is there, but in India flowering plants 15,000 are flowering plants present in India, which is 5.6%.
So being a subtropical country, India is having a rich and varied biodiversity. Why some regions have rich biodiversity when compared to the other regions, Mr. Swami?
Yeah.
Okay, Annie.
Yeah, I just want to add something to this. Yeah, the diversity, the rich diversity, if you take the global level, that is concentrated mostly in the equatorial region, because by virtue of their location, these regions, these equatorial regions, they enjoy more sunshine, they enjoy more rain when compared to other regions of the world. So there is more productivity and more biodiversity.
They are less seasonal also.
Yes, less seasonal also. So the amount of biodiversity will be more in these regions.
Yeah. Globally, there are 34 hotspots and 12 mega biodiversity nations are there in India. India is one among them. Okay, Western Ghats recently declared as World Heritage Site by UNESCO. So actually, can you explain for our students what are the hotspots and how many hotspots are there in India?
A biodiversity hotspot is a biogeographic region with a significant of reservoir of biodiversity that is under threat from humans. To qualify as a biodiversity hotspot, a region must meet two criteria. It must contain at least 0.5% of or 15,000 species of endemic flowering plants, and it has to have lost at least 70% of primary vegetations. In the world, there are 34 hotspots is there, but in India we have two hotspots. One is northeastern Himalayas, and then one is Western Ghats. So coming to Western Ghats is started from Gujarat, and it moves to 1600 kilometers through the states of Maharashtra, Goa, Karnataka, Kerala, and Tamil Nadu. Recently, these Western Ghats recognized as a World Heritage Site in 2012 by UNESCO. So, is one of the world 10 hottest biodiversity hotspots in the world. The Western Ghats having 5,916 plant species, of which 3,449 species are endemic to this region. Almost all 51.5% are endemic this region. So in that mammals are 12.9% are endemic, birds are 7.6% endemic, reptiles 65.2% endemic, and plants are 51.5% are endemic to this region. So globally there are 332 species are threatened in list occurred in Western Ghats. In that, plants have 229 plants and 31 mammals, 15 birds and 4 reptiles, 52 amphibians, 1 fish. These are in that 55 are critically endangered, 145 are endangered, and 129 vulnerable species. So some of the endemic species in Western Ghats, Piper langum and Cinnamomum verum. These are originated from Western Ghats. So recently from Sri Lanka, Pavetta garderi are extinct from Sri Lanka, but recently is rediscovered from Western Ghats in 2010, and it is conserved at the Jawaharlal Nehru Tropical Botanical Research Institute at Agastyamalai Hill. So some of the another endemic plants, Agastyamalaya passiflora, some of Western in Andaman and Nicobar also, Vanilla handamanica and Bentinkia nicobarica are endemic to this particular region. So coming to Northeast Himalayas, these regions represent to transition among Indian and Indo-Malayan and Indo-Chinese biogeographic regions. In this region, there are 10,000 species of flowering plants, of which 3,160 are endemic to this region. The small geographical area in that Sikkim have 7,298 square kilometers. In that, it having 4,250 flowering plants. Of these, 2,250 are endemic to this region. That's why Sikkim is considered as a sanctuary of angiosperms, a cradle of angiosperm. So in the globally 162 species are threatened to the occurred in Northeast Himalayas region. In that, 36 are plant species, 45 are mammals, and 50 bird species, 16 reptiles, 12 amphibians, 3 fishes. Out of 162, 14 are critically endangered, 46 are endangered species, and 1 or 2 are the vulnerable species from this region. So among these, instead of this Himalayas, Western Ghats and Northeast Himalayas, so many other regions are also protected from in India. Is that Sundarbans from Calcutta, and Thar deserts from Rajasthan, Chilka from Orissa, and so many other places are protecting from India.
Okay, it has taken millions of years of evolution to accumulate this rich diversity in nature, but we could lose all this wealth in less than 2 centuries if present rate of species decline continues. For example, house sparrows, vultures, and kilotes, squirrel, which are commonly spotted in our childhood, now they are rarely seen.
Yes, of course.
Could you explain the reasons for the decline in species diversity?
Yes, there are so many reasons for decline in biodiversity. The major reasons are habitat destruction and habitat fragmentation. just habitat destruction is nothing but this is the single large cause for the most biodiversity loss in the recent past. Okay, over the past 100 years, if we take billions of hectares of land or forests was woodlands and grasslands have been, even wetlands have been converted into commercial forests, croplands, grazing lands, and for development purposes also. And with current rate of deforestation, 50 to 90% of Earth's forest inhabiting species is projected to be lost by mid 21st century. So, we fear that 50 to 90% of Earth's biodiversity will be lost if the rate of this destruction or habitat destruction if we continue. Okay, that's why we spot so many leopards or so many wild animals
coming into
the urban areas. Okay, we have invaded their land, their habitat. So they're coming into our lands. Okay, so next one is. The best example I will give you is habitat destruction at Rajendra Nagar in our very own city Hyderabad. This is over a period of 10 years. This extreme left picture was taken 10 years back. Okay, and this is 5 years back, the second picture, and now this is like this, and few more years to go, we won't see any greenery over there, and the habitat will be lost completely for development reasons. So this is the habitat destruction is the single largest cause for biodiversity loss. Next one is habitat fragmentation. Habitat fragmentation, many people consider we will overlook it. That is, it is an unrecognized fact.
Yes.
Even habitat fragmentation will lead to the biodiversity loss, because this is many species, many larger species, larger species like wild cats, elephants, they all need they all need colonies for their development, for their reproduction and all. So this habitat fragmentation limits the species potential for dispersal and colonization. And even large, as I said, large animals need territories to subsist. They will lose their homes. Okay, so because of this habitat fragmentation. Next threat is poaching and wildlife hunting. We all know about it, and this wildlife is hunted for their skin, especially tigers, tigers, they are hunted for their skins, bones, and even for their nails. And rhinos, they are hunted for their valuable horns, elephants for their valuable tusks. All these things, valuable goods are for smuggling purposes. They are poaching and hunting the wildlife. This is one of the major causes for biodiversity loss.
There are other threats also.
Yes, ma'am. There are other threats also. One is the invasive species. Introduction of exotic species of new areas often poses great threat to native biological diversity. That is a floral diversity or faunal diversity. Some example, Parthenium, we can see these pictures, Parthenium and everywhere, and Eichhornia in many lakes of Hyderabad and surrounding areas. Yes, Hyderabad is Eichhornia cross species, commonly called as a water hyacinth, is everywhere is common, and Lantana camara and Iptis saviolens. This is Parthenium is having many names. In Telugu, Machipatri, Pichipatri, Vayyaribama, Congress grass, Gajar grass, many names having this plant. So it is a very problematic weed. It is producing allulochemicals. Allulochemicals means one plant producing chemicals is suppress the another plant growth. So it is a major threat to the native plant biodiversity. And not only in plant biodiversity, as well as in animals and human being also, it causes threat to plants and and animals and human beings
Asthma,
also.
allergies, or all
yes,
this.
yes, asthmas, allergies. Even because of these invasive species, they grow very fast using all the nutrients from the soil, and they will restrict the growth of other organisms, other plant species. So they
recently also, ma'am, in 2005 in our India, wheat imported from USA and Bulgaria and Canada and Russia, almost 6 million metric tons are wheat imported from in our India. At that time, 5 wheats are entered into our India. Those are Cyanoglossum officinale, Ambrosia trifida, and Cenchrus tribulioides, Solanum corallensis. These are the very problematic weeds in not
they
only
are going
crops.
to invade our
Yes,
country.
yes, they are going
pretty
to
soon,
invade.
pretty soon.
Already one program is conducted on that National Invasive Weed Surveillance Program.
Okay.
It's conducted in Agriculture University also, ma'am.
Okay.
This is a very problematic weed. Not only for plants, it human beings and animals also. It is very serious threat to diversity.
And pollution also, I think.
So over exploitation and over harvesting animals resources and plants are a threat to native biodiversity. Over exploitation such as hunting, fishing, reduce the species number, it leads to extinction. The African elephant numbers drastically declined due to the killed for their tusks. Lions and tigers hunted for sports and pleasure. In Andhra Pradesh also, many of the Cycas bedomi is endemic to Andhra Pradesh region.
Yeah,
so it is yes, Seshachalam biosphere reserve, because it is now is critically endangered plant because of the male cones are using in some traditional uses. They are using some traditional
in the medicine.
Yes, ma'am, traditional medicine. So it
they
is
are harvested for medicinal purposes.
Medicinal purpose. So it is a critically endangered plant. Pterocarpus santalinus also using over exploitation, overusing.
Yeah, red sanders.
Yes, there are also critically endangered species. So many other species like Pimpinella thuribescens are endemic to that area, and other Saraka ashoka, it is also endangered plant, and Decalepis hamiltoni, it is also endangered plant. These are the endangered to our Andhra Pradesh, ma'am.
Yeah, I just want to add to Mr. Swami. Previously, there used to be 17 active fishing zones around the world, but due to introduction of mechanized boats and other fishing mechanisms, these zones were now inactive, and only at present 4 zones are active. So, over exploitation of resources leads to decline in the fish population.
And also global environmental
next this is pollution is one of the threatening causes. Pollution of soil pollution because of dumping of garbage everywhere. We are losing the valuable soil. Okay, and even air pollution. Due to air pollution, many of plants, they are unable to reproduce. Even birds, they are unable to reproduce, and they are migrating towards cleaner regions. So even water pollution and letting all the untreated domestic and industrial water into the lakes, it is causing pollution. Even the pesticides we use to control the for the crops, okay, they are causing threat to the biodiversity, because they by killing, though they kill the target pest, they will also kill
influencing the
other pests, other animals too. So that's how we lose so much of valuable biodiversity. We should not forget the global environmental change. The global environmental change, scientists fear that because of the more concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere due to anthropogenic activities, in coming 20 to 30 years, the global temperatures are going to rise rapidly, and we are experiencing it now itself. Okay, because of this global warming, scientists are feared that 20 to 90% of the global biodiversity is feared at extinction. Yeah. So global environmental change has it contributes for the biodiversity loss.
So, we discussed about significance and threats to biodiversity. So, what are the consequences of this biodiversity loss?
The consequences of biodiversity loss is increased vulnerability of species extinction, ecological imbalance,
Yeah.
reduced sources of food, structural material, medicinal and genetic resources. Even if all these things, if the biodiversity is lost, naturally the according to demand and supply ratio, supply rule, if the supply is less, the demand will be more, the price rise will be more.
Yeah. How we can help to conserve this rich wealth?
Yes, ma'am. We can conserve the by two methods, ma'am.
Okay.
One is the in situ conservation, another one is the ex situ conservation. In situ conservation means this is the conservation of genetic resources through the maintenance within natural or even man-made ecosystem in which they are occur. So, according to United Nations and Environmental Program and World Conservation of Monitoring Center, there are in world 37,000 are protected areas around the world. In our India, according to Ministry of Environmental Forest, 668 protected areas is there. In that, 102 national parks, 515 wildlife sanctuaries, 18 biosphere reserves, and many other sacred groves and community forests. So, in that wildlife sanctuaries and national parks, we are conserving the wild animals. So, in India, recently, Seshachalam Biosphere Reserve also declared the biosphere reserve in Andhra Pradesh. Recently, in Andhra Pradesh also, Tiger Kawal also declared as a tiger reserve zone. Tiger reserve zone. So, these are the 18 biosphere reserves. In that, Nanda Devi, Nakrak and Agastyamalai also biosphere reserves in India, ma'am.
Okay, what is the difference between a national park, sanctuary or a biosphere reserve? Can you explain to our students?
Yeah, national park is here the biodiversity will be protected as it is.
Yeah.
Okay, they will not entertain human interference. Okay, for any purpose, the human interference is not at all encouraged. Whereas biosphere reserves, there are 3 zones in biosphere reserves. The middle zone is called as core zone, which is undisturbed zone, and the central zone is the core zone. The middle zone in this is called as in the central buffer zone. This is this buffer zone. In buffer zone, human interference is allowed to some extent. Okay, for scientific studies and for tourism also to some extent. Okay, and in the last zone, that is the outermost zone, that is called as transitional zone. Okay, in the transitional zone, it is both the government and the human interference. They will work in cooperation. Human settlements are encouraged and grazing is allowed, and even collection of forest produce is allowed to some extent. So, that is the difference between national parks and biosphere reserves. And while coming to wildlife sanctuaries are only meant for protection of certain type wild animals only.
Okay, biosphere reserve.
Yeah, biosphere reserves, sir.
How many national parks are in India? How many national parks are there? Biosphere reserves.
National parks in India, 102 national parks in India, ma'am. In that 18 biosphere reserves, 102 national parks, 515 wildlife sanctuaries. So, in AP also, more than 20 wildlife sanctuaries there, 6 national parks in Hyderabad also we have Kasu Brahmananda Reddy National Park, Mrugavani National Park, Arena Vanasthali National Park, in Tirupati Sri Venkateshwara National Park, also 6 national parks is there, ma'am. So in that they are conserving the biodiversity.
Okay, what about ex situ conservation? Dr. Rani?
Ex situ conservation is nothing but in situ conservation, as Mr. Swami has rightly said, it is protecting the wildlife or diversity in their habitat itself. This is in contrast, the wildlife will be taken out of their habitats and protected in a safer places. Okay, that is called as ex situ conservation.
Outside their habitat.
Yeah, outside their habitats. For several examples for ex situ conservation is gene banks. Okay, gene banks and zoos. Botanical gardens,
arboretums,
yeah,
bamboo orchidariums.
Yes, all these things. For example, coming to gene banks, in gene banks, gene pool. Okay, gene pool of several plants, thousands of plants is preserved with a technique called as cryopreservation. And NBPGR, that is National Bureau of Plant Genetic Resources, is playing a vital role in protecting or storing or conserving the germplasm of Indian plants. Okay, and even botanical gardens. Selected plants which are endangered and which have medicinal plants which are endangered in wild and available only in cultivation. Okay, they are taken into a they're planted in a botanical garden and they're protected. Even colleges, educational institutions are coming forward to protect this environment. Okay, and for the best example I can give is AV College. Previously I have worked with AV College, and in the it is located at the heart of the city. Yeah. Okay, they have very beautiful, the beautiful botanical garden with 200 species. Okay, like
in addition to also AP Forest Department, Biodiversity Park also established at Dulapalli.
Yes.
They are conserving lot of Eastern Ghats and Western Ghats species in Biodiversity Park.
Ex situ conservation.
Yes, one of Arboretum is there. In that they are conserving lot of species. They are collecting from Eastern Ghats and Western Ghats. Yes, they are planted. And also JNTBGR, recently I went there in Western Ghats. In JNTBGR, there are 200 of fens that they are conserving, 200 fens, more than 200.
Great.
And 3000 endemic species they are conserving. 3000 endemic species also they are conserving in JNTBGR at Palod Trivandrum. And so some of the rare plants like Drosera and Nepenthes and many of the orchids also they are conserving at that JNTBGR.
Even in Hyderabad we have a very beautiful and very big botanical garden located in Madhapur. Okay. So these are the efforts of the Indian government to protect the the biodiversity in ex situ way. Other than this in situ and ex situ conservation, we have other methods for conservation of biodiversity. One is prevention of species.
Excuse me, we had a phone.
Yes.
Hello.
Namaste, madam.
Namaste.
Ma'am, recently I started my agriculture actually.
Okay.
Okay. So, Bayaribama, what you are just now speaking.
Yeah, Congress grass.
It was more affected.
Yes, it's very wide, widely. Excuse me?
Okay. Basically, I am a photographer.
Okay, you are a photographer.
So,
okay.
Yeah. My father was a farmer.
Okay.
So now my age is around 38 years. My village is spoiling only because of this Bayaribama and all this kalpmokal, what you call.
Okay.
Yeah, weeds.
So first I want to stop that only single plant, Bayaribama. How can I stop all over the village? Not only my farmer, my land. I want to stop all the village actually.
The best method is eradication. Eradication is the best method, sir, that removing the Parthenium species. Another biological manually use that is the best method. Another method is there, sir, Zygogramma bicolorata. One is the insect is there. If you grow that plant, it will consume eat in that plant, sir.
What is that?
Zygogramma bicolorata.
Zygogramma bicolorata. Can we get it?
Yes, ma'am.
We can
in
introduce into the field.
Some weed control department also is there, ma'am.
So he can meet the agricultural department personnel and They will provide.
They will provide.
They will provide. Dr. Madhavi Madam is working at the Weed Scientist Madam in Agriculture University.
Okay.
So she is
NG Ranga Agriculture
NG Ranga,
University,
NG
Rajendra Nagar.
Rajendra Nagar.
Okay.
So, I think he got the answer.
Got the answer.
He got the answer for his question.
Thank you.
So now coming to the conservation of other methods of conservation. The other best methods are prevention of species overexploitation and reducing pollution and checking deforestation and promoting afforestation and restriction of exotic species, and the last one is public awareness.
Yeah, that's more important.
That is very important. For any program, the success of any program depends on public participation. We cannot deny the role of public in making it a success, any program is success. So, public awareness is very important. Whatever the program we introduce, first we must create awareness in the public, then only we can achieve 100% result.
Okay. So, what are the efforts initiated by different organizations at international and national levels to address these issues?
Yeah, international level, the Earth Summit, which was conducted in Rio de Janeiro in 1992, it came up with it resulted in Convention of Biodiversity. Even Convention of Biodiversity in the last year 2011, the Convention of Biodiversity was held in Nagoya. Okay. They came up with 20 Aichi targets, biodiversity targets, and recently the COP11 hosted at Hyderabad in our biodiversity capital of India.
Yeah.
Okay, they have hosted hosted this conference. The objectives of Convention on Biodiversity is adoption of ways and means to conserve biodiversity and managing biodiversity for sustainable use and ensuring equitable sharing of benefits from biological diversity, including utilization of genetic resources. So, these are the objectives of CBD. With these objectives, CBD is influencing all the international community, all the countries and the policy makers to allot so much of funding. And even in COP11, our Prime Minister has
he earmarked $50,000
million US dollars,
$50 million US dollars for
institutional biodiversity convention,
strengthening institutional mechanism for biodiversity protection. And also after this COP11 at United Nations Biodiversity Conference, member countries, they pledged to double their resources for biodiversity protection by 2015.
Yes, they by becoming biodiversity champions. Yes. Even the role of IUCN we should not forget. International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. They have they came up with a Red Data book. Okay, Red Data book. In Red Data book, it gives the details of species that are considered to be at risk of extinction. Okay. In IUCN, the Red Data list of 2012 was released on 19th
July and 2012 at Rio Plus 2 conference.
Yes.
Rio Plus 2 conference. The IUCN assessed a total of 63,837 species which revolved and 19,817 are threatened with extinction. The IUCN released as listed 132 species of plants and animals from India are critically endangered. So, the endangered species are listed from every year. IUCN listed endangered and threat species.
So, at present in India we have 132 species which are in the
threatened list.
Critically endangered. Critically endangered. Difference. And the role of
difference between, what is the difference between threatened, vulnerable, critically endangered? we are talking about all these terms?
Critically endangered means extinct means it is almost all extinct in natural. Or it is
In
not
nature.
in nature. It's
In
not
wild.
conditions. Critically endangered means it is all in cultivation, ma'am. It is not. It's not in natural. All in cultivation only. For example, Decalepis hamiltoni, Cycas bedomi, critically endangered plants. Styrocarpus santalinus, Saraka ashoka.
Even Saraka ashoka.
Saraka ashoka.
Yeah.
These are the critically endangered plant species. Endangered plant species. Many of the Cerepiges are the endangered plants. So Indian Cerepiges almost all are in endangered list. So most of the vulnerable species are so present in Andhra Pradesh. For example, Gloriosa subarba, Sudatria viscida.
Is it endangered?
Yes, yes. These are the endangered plants.
Gloriosa subarba.
Gloriosa, vulnerable.
Yes,
These are the
vulnerable
vulnerable
ones, yeah.
species, ma'am. Gloriosa also.
And some plants belong to Gymnosperm, Cycas.
Cycas bedomi, ma'am. This is endemic to our
Seshachalam.
This is a critically endangered plant, ma'am. Cycas bedomi also.
So it is essential. Excuse me. Hello. We had a phone call. Hello.
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 Yes, I'm Neha.
Okay. Hello, Neha.
Actually, I have a question.
Okay.
Like, we get so many skin allergies nowadays.
Excuse me.
Her voice is not clear.
It's not.
Allergies.
Allergies. She's
Allergies,
talking
okay.
about allergies.
Yeah. So how do you prevent these?
How to prevent? Okay, this allergy is mostly due to the pollen grains.
Pollen grains, yes, ma'am.
Can
Pollen
you
grains and
explain?
many insects.
Not only pollen grains, there are other things too. One of the causatives, allergy causatives is pollen
Yes,
grains.
and also due to this climate change also, these
allergies,
gases,
yes.
greenhouse gases.
Yes, they cause allergies.
Hello, Neha? Okay, thank you. So, till now we have discussed elaborately what biodiversity is, the significance of biodiversity, and how crucial it is for the existence of our society. So, due to time constraint, we restricted ourselves to few topics. Anyhow, we had a fruitful discussion, and I hope all of you understand the topic well. Okay, no government or no organization can do it on their own. It is up to all of us to join hands to protect the mother nature to the possible extent. So, every one of us, it is every citizen's responsibility to save the mother earth. We have to cultivate an attitude of environmentally responsible living, then only we can protect the nature and the sustainable development of this planet takes place.
Yes, the ecosystem, it has.
Thank you.
Yeah.